It's 12:07 p.m. on the 3rd of July, 2025. In the waters east of Natuna Bazaar, the roar of jet engines cuts across the sea. On the deck of the USS Theodore Roosevelt, alarms blare. Radar screens light up with multiple unknown tracks. Sailors rush to battle stations. Every movement drilled and precise, but the tension is raw. Over the horizon, China's carrier Shandong has launched its fighters J-15 slicing low, escorted by shadowing destroyers. The U.S. carrier group braces. A Japanese ship, JS Izumo, adjusts course nearby, while Australia's HMAS Canberra signals readiness. Each ally knows one wrong move here could set the Pacific on fire. Above, American F-35C streak into the sky to intercept. Down below, submarine contacts flicker in and out, Kilo-class hunters lurking unseen. The air crackles with electronic jamming. This is not a drill. This is the knife edge of confrontation. The next minutes will decide whether the sea stays open or turns red. In the South China Sea, shipping lanes cut straight through daily life back home. Oil, gas, electronics, everything rides these waters. If they stop, gas prices jump, shelves thin out, and trust in America's promise to keep trade routes open starts to crack. That's why the USS Theodore Roosevelt is here with allies, facing China's push to control the approaches east of Natuna. Beijing's move is blunt. Push the carrier Shandong forward, screen it with Type 055 destroyers carrying YJ-18 cruise missiles, and let Kilo-class submarines prowl beneath. Add electronic jamming, reconnaissance drones, and a reminder that shore-based missiles can reach far. The aim is pressure without a shot, make the US blink, make smaller states self-censor, and bend the map. For the task force, the stakes are bigger than one standoff. It's credibility. If they yield here, Tokyo questions the alliance. Canberra wonders if Washington still has the steel. Indonesia, Vietnam, and the Philippines watch every move. Insurance markets watch too. A misread today becomes a price hike tomorrow. So far, the crisis is tense but bloodless. UAVs probe and harass. F-35C SWAT, several down. A Burke-class destroyer widens its radar picket to break the box. P-8 Amperes aircraft rake the sea with sonobuoys, hunting shapes below. JS Izumo swings to starboard. HMAS Canberra tightens the screen. Every move is filmed by satellites and rumors spread online before officers can draft a message. The choice is simple and brutal. Hold formation and risk escalation, or ease off and watch influence drain away. Out here, hesitation is a message. Resolve is too. Before this line snaps, one side must read the other fast. Who should back down here, China or the US and allies? Drop your take below. Press 1 if America must hold the line, or 9 if Beijing's gamble will prevail. 12:42 p.m. The radar scope glows with new contacts fast. Low, coming straight in. Operators call them out in clipped voices, each number a threat of danger racing across the sea. The commander doesn't wait. Orders snap. Launch F-35C. Vector them to intercept and ready the destroyer's launchers. Seconds matter. The first asset unleashed is the carrier's fighters. 2 F-35C peel off the deck, burners flaring, climbing hard to cut the lead tracks. Each carries missiles designed to reach fast and hit clean. Their task is to thin the wave before it grows unmanageable. Next comes the second layer. The Arleigh Burke destroyer on Roosevelt's flank locks targets and fires standard missiles. Long white streaks cut upward, curving into arcs, hunting the oncoming threats. For the crew, it's routine only in training. Out here, each missile costs millions, and each one fired means the enemy has forced America's hand. Japanese and Australian partners plug the gaps. JS Izumo vectors its helicopters to expand radar coverage, ensuring no blind spot. HMAS Canberra signals ready to launch its own interceptors if the next wave breaks through. Across radios, voices overlap in English and Japanese, clipped and urgent, every call checked twice. Coordination means survival. The first intercepts hit home. Bright flashes bloom on the horizon, enemy drones exploding midair. Cheers ripple, but only for seconds. Operators report more inbound tracks hidden behind the first group. It's a tactic to overload defenses' classic saturation. The P-8 Ampere's Poseidon patrol aircraft adds its eyes. From high altitude, it sweeps the battle space, confirming what the destroyer already fears: multiple launch points. From both the carrier Shandong and its escorting ships, China is testing range, reaction time, and willpower all at once. As interceptors reload, the sky grows crowded with contrails and smoke. Sailors grip railings and consoles, waiting for the next alarms. The first wave is beaten back, but everyone knows what's next. A heavier strike, closer, harder, faster. Below deck, fire teams stand by, hoses coiled, foam ready, whispering checklists they hope never to use. Far off, the Shandong turns into the wind again, another launch cycle building, another test of nerve. This battle has only begun. 1:15 p.m. A second wave emerges on radar, tighter, faster, and more unpredictable. Several drones slip past the outer defenses, their signatures masked by electronic noise. The destroyer fires again, intercepting some, but not all. Every operator knows, even one breaking through could be fatal. The carrier group shifts tactics. Theodore Roosevelt turns a few degrees, reducing its profile and forcing enemy tracks into narrower firing angles. On deck, gunners brace beside their mounts, eyes fixed on the dark horizon. Metal clanks, belts feed, safeties click off. This is the moment training becomes survival. Above, F-35C re-engage. They cut across the incoming wave, unleashing missiles and bursts of cannon fire. Explosions ripple, but still, new contacts replace the old. China's saturation tactic is working quantity, forcing quality to the edge. Every intercept buys seconds, not safety. Allied ships keep pace. Izumo shifts closer, offering overlapping radar coverage. Canberra launches helicopters to scout for lurking submarines, because one torpedo now could end the fight before it begins. Across the formation, crews strain to hold the line, aware they're being watched by allies, rivals, and millions online. The burden grows heavier. Ammo counts flash red. Reload drills run non-stop, sweat mixing with salt spray on the decks. The carrier's captain orders speed increased, wake widening as engines drive harder against the sea. Maneuvering is part of defense. Every knot and turn cuts angles that attackers try to exploit. But the enemy keeps coming. More drones dive low, skimming the water, while radar jammers overhead blur the sky into static. Operators shout bearings, gunners swivel, interceptors fire again. Each kill is a small relief, but no one celebrates. The crew knows, if even one makes it through, it could slam into steel and send hundreds scrambling for damage control. Both sides test nerve and endurance. China pushes to break formation. America and allies dig in to hold it. Out here, persistence is as much a weapon as missiles. Whose strategy will crack first, China's storm or the US shield? Drop your take below. Press 1 if America's defense holds, or 9 if Beijing's relentless push will smash through. 1:42 p.m. Just as the crew steadies, a new alert blares. These aren't the same drones. Smaller, faster, hugging the surface, harder to see, harder to kill. They slip beneath radar sweeps, appearing only seconds before impact. This is China's next card, a twist meant to overwhelm even seasoned crews. The commander reacts instantly. Orders cut through the noise. Activate close. In defenses. Bring secondary systems online. Prepare for rapid fire. The ship's gunners tense, fingers poised, as the threat closes distance with terrifying speed. Helicopters from Izumo and Canberra scramble lower, trying to extend detection. Still, the swarm splits, each craft darting unpredictably, weaving between waves. It's a deadly game of hide and strike, designed to drain reaction time. The call goes out for a third layer of defense. Phalanx CIWS batteries rotate, barrels whirring, radar domes tracking at knife range. Every second shaved off detection is a second bought for survival. Crews brace as the mounts begin to scream. On deck, sailors watch tiny specks racing across the water. The speed is shocking, faster than anything in the first wave. If one breaks through, it won't just dent steel. It could ignite fuel, cripple the carrier, or end the mission outright. The commander knows this is the real test. Standard missiles won't save them now. It's down to reflexes, gunfire, and split-second calls. Every sailor feels the weight. Whether this moment ends with a clear horizon or burning wreckage depends on their aim. The sea boils with spray as rounds hammer down range. Targets explode in white flashes, but new ones appear just behind. The twist is here, and the crew faces their hardest fight yet. 2:05 p.m. The last wave surges in. Dozens of fast contacts streak toward the carrier group, some skimming the waves, others diving from altitude. The bridge goes silent except for clipped commands. This is it, the point where victory or disaster is measured in seconds. CIWS guns thunder. Tracers cut across the sea like white-hot ropes, stitching the horizon. Explosions ripple as drones are torn apart, but the swarm doesn't stop. Each kill is replaced by another diving closer. Sailors grip their stations, jaws tight, eyes unblinking. On the Roosevelt's deck, gunners switch to manual, swinging barrels by instinct. The roar is deafening, steel vibrating with every burst. Nearby, the Burke-class destroyer unleashes a final salvo, its tubes flashing in sequence. Japanese and Australian ships join in, creating a wall of firepower. Coordination is everything. One gap, and the enemy slips through. A drone breaks through the first screen, screaming low. The CIWS locks, fires, and at the last second, the target explodes in a blinding flash. Spray showers the deck, sailors ducking as fragments rain down. Another drone follows, weaving harder. The crew adjusts, fires again, shredding it yards from the hull. Below decks, team sprint hoses run, watertight doors sealed. EW operators shout bearings. Jammers burn through static, peeling clutter off the scopes. Chaff blooms flare silver, luring seekers wide. A Seahawk skims past the bow, dragging a decoy sled. One drone veers off, lost in smoke. On Izumo, a gun crew rides recoil, cheering as the last speck winks out. For a hot minute, no one breathes. Then the closest threat yet, a fast mover hugging the waves, seconds from impact. Gun mounts track, shells pour, tracers vanish into the body. The target erupts, flames scattering across the surface. The carrier shakes, spray washing over the bow. Alarms fade as radar shows the skies clearing. Silence falls, smoke drifts, crews exhale for the first time in hours. The carrier stands scarred but alive. The formation tightens, counting ammo, counting luck, and counting on each other for whatever comes next. In moments like this, who truly holds the edge, America's layered defense or China's relentless waves? Drop your answer below. Press 1 if the shield proves stronger, or 9 if the storm nearly broke it. 2:45 p.m. The horizon is finally quiet. Smoke drifts where drones fell, and the sea is littered with debris. The Roosevelt's deck crews work non-stop, checking for damage, rearming CIWS, and resetting launchers. Sailors' faces are streaked with sweat and salt, but relief is written in their eyes. They survived the heaviest assault yet. The cost, though, is clear. Missile stocks are reduced, gun barrels overheated, and fuel reserves stretched thin. Every interception burned resources the group can't easily replace. The lesson is harsh. Cheap drones and waves of pressure force America to spend millions just to stay afloat. For Washington, the outcome proves the defenses work, but also that the enemy adapts. China's strategy of relentless swarms nearly cracked the line. For allies, the sight of America standing firm is reassurance, but also a warning that the margin of survival is thinner than ever. Tokyo and Canberra will double down on readiness. Southeast Asian states will debate how far to lean toward the U.S. shield. Beijing, meanwhile, studies every intercept and every hesitation. They didn't sink a carrier, but they exposed limits. Each wave was a message. We can bleed you, we can wear you down. And that message will echo in every future standoff. For the sailors, it's more personal. They walked the knife's edge and held. Tonight, they'll write emails home saying they're safe without describing how close it came. Tomorrow, they'll drill again, knowing the next wave might be bigger, faster, and deadlier. commanders log lessons, analysts replay each intercept, deck crews patch scars unseen, the South China Sea remains open, but only just. The fight for control isn't over, it's entering a new phase. If you had to choose, who came out stronger today, America holding the shield, or China proving it can nearly break it? Drop your answer below, and subscribe to catch the next episode. Press 1 if you think the US showed it still owns the line, or 9 if Beijing's pressure struck deeper. At exactly 4:14 local time on the 24th of June, 2025, the Black Sea looked calm enough to swallow sound. A Russian Cerna-class landing craft, 30 troops jammed inside, drove hard toward the western shore of Kherson, confident, routine, unhurried. What the crew didn't know was that for 27 minutes, a Turkish-made Bayraktar TB2 had been shadowing them from 18,000 feet, patient as a hawk riding thermals over a sleeping field. In 90 seconds, that routine was going to die. The TB2 had launched at 2 o'clock from a concealed strip near Mykolaiv, slipping into a sky that was more ink than air. This wasn't some jury-rigged shopping mall quadcopter, it was Turkey's answer to the Predator, a lean, long-endurance hunter designed to stay aloft for 27 hours, while feeding crystal-clean video to a ground crew that lived by checklists and coffee. Its Rotax 912 engine hummed at a steady 70 knots, slow enough to conserve fuel, fast enough to be anywhere it needed to be. Why rush when the night itself is cover? The route in was a quiet lesson in survival. Instead of a straight line, the TB2 traced a careful curve that kept it at least 50 kilometers from known Russian S-300 sites, stepping across radar gaps the way a burglar steps across floorboards. The operators had learned the hard way that a small radar cross-section about a large bird doesn't make you invisible. And arrogance in Russian airspace is how a $5 million asset becomes a smoking footnote. By 3:30, the drone slid into its patrol station, a 40 by 20 kilometer rectangle positioned to watch the main approaches to Khersen's beaches. The aircraft settled into its autonomous pattern, quiet, methodical, unseen. Below, the Cerna kept cutting west. Above, the hunter waited, building a picture, buying time, and letting the sea keep the secret a little longer. From its station high above the sea, the TB2's Westcam MX-15D sensor ball roamed the darkness. Built in Canada, this wasn't just a camera. It was a multi-spectral imaging suite that could read a license plate from 20 kilometers away. In infrared mode, the Black Sea below turned into a glowing canvas, every heat source painted like a white flare in coal dust. The operator sat in a ground control station that looked more like a gamer's battle rig than a military post, multiple screens, toggles, and a joystick that could decide the fate of a ship. The drone flew its programmed rectangle while he alternated between visual and thermal imaging every few minutes. Drone warfare was like that. 99% scanning empty water, 1% heart-pounding action. Tonight, that ratio was about to flip. At 3:47, a faint hotspot appeared on the thermal feed, moving west at roughly 30 knots. It left a warm wake that glowed against the cold sea. The operator zoomed in. The blur resolved into the sharp silhouette of a Project 11770 Cerna-class landing craft, 26 meters of fast, shallow draft steel built for beach assaults. These vessels could haul 92 armed troops or even a main battle tank straight onto sand. And this one wasn't alone. 2 more vessels followed, 5 kilometers behind, a telltale convoy. This wasn't a routine patrol or a supply run. 3 boats meant coordination, protection, and purpose. The operator tagged each contact and began recording. Every pixel mattered. Any of it could end up on an intelligence officer's desk by morning. The lead Cerna skimmed the sea like a speedboat, its water jet propulsion throwing a smooth, hot wake. Through thermal imaging, the operator spotted heat signatures on deck, human bodies, at least 2 dozen. These weren't sailors moving with casual rhythm. Their posture, gear, and pattern screamed infantry. By 4:10, the pattern was undeniable. The convoy's heading pointed straight for a stretch of beach 8 kilometers west of Kherson, the same sector where Ukrainian patrols had reported suspicious signs the week before. The operator reached for the secure line. Whatever this was, the Russians were minutes away from meeting company they couldn't see coming. At 4:15, after nearly half an hour of silent tracking, the order came through the headset in 3 short words: "Cleared to engage." It was a call made not from the operator's seat, but from the 383rd UAV Brigade's Operations Center, where senior officers had been watching the same live feed. It wasn't a decision taken lightly. Every MAM-L missile cost around $70,000, and the TB2 carried only 4. More than that, striking here would reveal to the Russians that Ukraine could run armed drones this far south, potentially compromising future missions. But the payoff was irresistible. Destroy the convoy before it could land, and you could shatter an operation before it began. The lead Cerna was now 15 kilometers from shore, still making 30 knots on a steady 330 degrees Celsius course. Predictable targets are dead targets. The TB2's autopilot received new coordinates, breaking from its patrol box and swinging wide left into an arc that would place it directly behind the Russian column. The plan was textbook. Take out the lead vessel first to cause maximum confusion and choke the formation. The operator's fingers danced across the console, loading targeting protocols. On his screen, the image magnified until individual crewmen were visible, most clustered near the stern to avoid Win classic mistake. Bunching up made them easier to kill. Their equipment confirmed the earlier assessment: tactical vests, helmets, and assault rifles, not supply crates or cargo. Hanging under the drone's wing was the MAM-L, its name a Turkish acronym for Smart Micro Munition. Barely 22 kilograms in total weight with a 10-kilogram warhead, it was small enough to be carried by a drone, yet lethal enough to pierce light armor or shred the thin steel plating of a landing craft. The missile used semi-active laser homing, which meant the TB2 had to keep its laser pointed on target until impact. From 8 kilometers, that translated into roughly 43 seconds of unwavering lock, plenty of time for a target to start shooting back, but also the range sweet spot for a precision kill. Now, the drone banked again, settling into position. Below, the convoy plowed forward, oblivious to the fact that their mission's fate was hanging literally over their heads. The TB2 eased into its attack run, every adjustment deliberate, every second ticking toward the point of no return. Through the Westcam's 15x optical zoom, the Cerna-class landing craft now filled the operator's main display. He could see the subtle shimmer of heat radiating from its engines, the shapes of antennas, even the hull number painted along the side. The laser designator was armed but idle, waiting for the perfect range. At 12.7 kilometers, the MAM-L could technically hit, but accuracy beyond 8 kilometers began to degrade. Patience would make the difference between a hit and a wasted missile. The operator watched the distance countdown: 11 kilometer, 10, steady. The Russian craft held its course. No hint it knew death was spiraling above. Then, movement in the convoy drew his attention. The 2 trailing vessels broke formation, one veering north, the other south. It was a maneuver straight out of a playbook. They were setting up a perimeter. This wasn't just a landing, it was the opening of something much larger. Reinforcements? Diversionary forces? The operator didn't have the luxury of finding out. Whatever the Russians were planning, it had to end now. The TB2 shifted to align with the Cerna's axis of movement. The MAM-L performed best when fired along the target's travel path, minimizing course correction and maximizing impact precision. The operator's heartbeat thudded in his ears as the crosshairs held steady on the vessel's bridge. Wind at altitude was minimal, 5 knots at most, ideal for stable targeting. The only threat was a cloud bank creeping in from the west, but it wouldn't reach the area for at least an hour. The engagement window was as good as it would ever get: 9 kilometers. 8. The range was perfect. His thumb hovered over the release authorization when a warning flashed red across the screen. Laser malfunction. Recalibrate. It felt like someone had punched him in the chest. The target was now 7 kilometers from shore, slowing slightly for its final approach. Every second lost was ground gain for the enemy. Without the laser, the missile was just dead weight. The operator's hands moved on. Instinct, laser off, laser on, forced the system through a self-test. 5 seconds, 10, laser operational. The green light returned. Now it was just a matter of locking on again before the window slammed shut forever. The crosshairs locked back on the Cerna's bridge, the laser designator flooding it with invisible energy. Target data stabilized. Yet, something about the boat's profile bothered the operator. The deck was overcrowded, far too many bodies for a 30-man infantry detail. Along the gunwales, strapped down with thick cargo netting, sat large waterproof crates. They weren't standard ammunition boxes. Whatever they were, their secrets would be revealed in precisely 43 seconds. At 4:47, the MAM-L slipped from the TB2's wing mount. Its fins snapped open with a crisp metallic crack, the missile seeker instantly scanning for the reflected laser beam. Inside, a compact onboard computer crunched numbers. Altitude 18,000 feet, range 7.8 kilometers. Estimated time to impact 43 seconds. On the operator's display, the Russian craft looked oblivious. Crewmen glowed bright in infrared, some smoking casually, others inspecting rifles, a few leaning on the rails. Then, a sudden gesture. One sailor pointed upward. Whether he'd spotted the TB2 or the descending missile didn't matter. At a closure rate of 185 kilometers per hour, no human reaction could beat physics. Panic rippled across the deck. Several men dove behind equipment. Others scrambled to bring heavy weapons to bear, hopelessly aiming at an unseen threat far above. But something far stranger unfolded. Troops began shoving those cargo crates overboard. The boxes splashed into the sea one after another, bobbing briefly before drifting astern. Why abandon cargo instead of defending themselves? The TB2's stabilized gimbal held the laser steady, unaffected by the rush of adrenaline in the control room. The range counter ticked 5 kilometers. 4, 3. In the UAV Brigade's Operations Center, Ukrainian intelligence officers leaned toward their monitors. Even in thermal, the troops' camouflage pattern was wrong distinct from regular Russian naval infantry. The crates bore Cyrillic stencils unlike any standard supply marking. 15 seconds to impact. The missile knifed through the night air, invisible to the naked eye but burning bright in the TB2's infrared feed. The operator exhaled slowly, heartbeat steady. Below, the Cerna plowed forward into fate, its crew unaware that the last seconds of their mission and their lives were vanishing. At 4:48, the MAM-L slammed into the Cerna-class landing craft amidships with surgical precision. The 10-kilogram warhead tore through the thin steel hull before detonating a sharp concussive blast that split the night. Fire and shrapnel ripped outward, shredding the deck and sending men tumbling into the sea. But what came next made every intelligence officer in the 383rd UAV Brigade sit forward. Exactly 1.3 seconds after the primary explosion, a chain of secondary blasts erupted, white-hot jets of molten light spraying skyward like fireworks from hell. This wasn't ammunition cooking off. The signatures were unmistakable. Demolition charges, likely thermite-based, engineered to melt through steel and concrete. The TB2's camera zoomed in. Amid the smoke and debris, waterproof cases bobbed to the surface, some still intact. Others cracked open to reveal metallic cylinders inside. The Cyrillic markings were now visible in high definition. The operator didn't need a translator to know what they meant. These weren't supplies for an infantry landing. This was a sabotage kit enough to cripple a port facility or take down a key bridge. Within 90 seconds of impact, the Cerna broke in half, its bow and stern drifting apart as flames licked across the wreckage. The sea glowed in infrared as burning fuel spread in rippling patterns. Emergency Russian radio traffic lit up multiple channels, but the content told its own story. There was no mention of rescue operations, only frantic coordination to pull the remaining vessels back toward Crimea. The two trailing boats executed hard turns and accelerated at full speed, abandoning their comrades without a second thought. Operational security clearly outweighed saving lives. By the time they disappeared from the TB2's view, their mission, whatever it had been, was in ruins. In the following hours, Ukrainian signals intelligence intercepted burst transmissions, ordering an immediate recall of special operations units from the western Black Sea. Satellite imagery confirmed multiple Russian vessels returning to Sevastopol. Within a week, Russian sabotage activity in the sector simply stopped. 30 Russian operators had trained for months for a mission that ended in less than 2 minutes. Their cargo, likely the centerpiece of a high-risk, high-reward operation, now rested at the bottom of the Black Sea. In Moscow, someone would be explaining the failure in a room where the windows suddenly seemed very dangerous.